in this video, we will be seeing the different types of angles and how do we find missing angles and so on. So let's start with, first let's know the basic types of angles. So these ones which are displayed are the basic types of angles which we have been learning from very long. So this is going to be acute angle. Okay, now this is acute angle. Why? Because it is a small, they look small. So small in the sense they measure less than 90 degrees, but they are more than 0 degrees. Of course, how can an angle have 0 degrees? It cannot have. So it has to be more than 0 degrees but less than 90 degrees. Okay, the next one is a right angle, which is exactly 90 degrees. It will not be more than 90, it will not be less than 90. It is exactly 90 degrees and it looks just like the corner of a square. The third kind of angle we have is obtuse angle, which are big angles. Now, they're not so big, but they are bigger than right angles, which means they measure more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. So obtuse angles, they measure more than 90, but less than 180. Now, the other kind of angle we have is straight angle. So a straight angle is always straight and it measures 180 degrees. Okay, so these are the four basic angles we have: acute, right, obtuse, and straight. Now, keeping these four angles in mind, let's move on and see how do we measure angles. Now, when you're measuring angles, we use a tool called a protractor. Okay, we find this tool inside the geometry box. It is called a protractor. It looks something like a half circle. Okay, now using this tool, using the protractor, how are we going to measure the angles? An angle is made up of two rays, or you call them two arms, and this point where they meet is called the vertex. Now this vertex is very important when we are measuring angles. Why? Because we are going to place the protractor center exactly at the vertex here, and then one hand of the angle or one arm of the angle should be exactly facing 0. The other arm should point to some number. Now, as you can see, it is pointing to 70 and 110. Now, the problem here is, which number are we going to choose? Are we going to choose 70 or 110? We are going to first look at the angle. Now, this is a big angle, which means it is an obtuse angle. So obtuse angles are more than 90. So which number are we going to choose here? We are going to be choosing 110 because it needs to be more than 90. 70 is less than 90, so it cannot be. So the measure of this angle is going to be 110 degrees. To make it more clear for you, let's look at this example. So you take your protractor, place the center of the protractor exactly at the vertex here, okay, and then one arm straight to 0. So where is the other arm pointing to? It is pointing to something between 40 and 50, or between 140 and 130. But as you can see, this is a small angle, which is an acute. So acute angles measure less than 90. So which means you're going to be taking the smaller measurements. So which number is between 40 and 50? You know the number between 40 and 50 is 45. So this angle measures 45. So this is how you measure angles. The most important step is you need to place the center of the protractor right at the vertex here, and then one arm straight to 0, and then read the number which the other arm is pointing to. Okay, now let's move on and check what does this have to do with adding the angles. Now this is called an angle addition postulate. What does the angle addition postulate tell us? It tells us that if the interior, that is the inside angle, you need to find, you can add the angles. Okay, not to confuse you, let me make it easier for you in easier words. You can see that this is a complete angle. Angle ABC is a complete angle. It has been divided in two parts like this. So one part of the angle, which is angle ABD, is 60 degrees. The other part is DBC, which is 40 degrees. So you want to find how much is angle ABC? Simple, you just add these two angles. So 60 plus 40 is going to give you 100 degrees. So which means angle ABC is 100 degrees. It's only a big angle. They have divided into two smaller angles and asked you to find the complete angle. So when they ask you this, you have to just add the numbers which are given in the smaller angle. This is a similar example where we have to use the addition postulate, angle addition postulate. So you can see that angle SRQ, SRQ is a very big angle, but they divided it into two parts and they said angle QRT is 40 degrees, angle TRS is 83 degrees. So when you want to find the whole angle, which is angle SRQ, you just add them. So it is going to give you 123. Okay, let's move on to the other part of this lesson. Now these are the pairs of angles which are called as adjacent angles. Now, what is an adjacent angle? An adjacent angle is a pair of angles, pair, which means two, with a shared vertex. So the vertex is going to be the same and a common side, but do not have overlapping interiors. They will not be on top of each other, but rather they will have one vertex and one arm or one side of the same. So let me make it easy for you. In easy words, it's one big angle. It's a very big angle which has been divided in two parts. That's all. Just they divided one angle in two parts. Now this can be a straight angle, it can be an obtuse angle, it can be an acute angle, or it can be a right angle. It can be any angle, but it has to be divided in two parts. Okay, so it doesn't matter what kind of angle they are. If they are divided in two parts, but they should share the common vertex, the same vertex, then it is an adjacent angle. Okay, now as you can see, these are adjacent angles. How? It has the same vertex and they're sharing one same side. But here it is not an adjacent angle. Why? Because this is a vertex and this is a vertex. They both are not sharing the same vertex. So it is not adjacent. Fine. Let's move on. Now this, what you can see are some examples of adjacent angles. See, this is a right angle divided in two parts. This is also an obtuse angle divided in two parts. A straight angle divided in two parts. Again, an obtuse angle divided in two parts. So as I said, it can be any angle, but it has to be having, they have to be sharing the same vertex and a same common side. So these are examples of adjacent angles. Now, linear pairs. Linear itself means straight. Linear means straight. So from the word you can find that linear pairs means they are straight angles which have been divided in two. Now, linear pairs are two adjacent angles that create a line, a straight line. They are also called as supplementary because supplementary angles must add up to 180 degrees. Remember, supplementary angles must add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so this is how supplementary angles look like. They are linear and they must add up to 180 degrees. Now, what if I say, what if this angle is missing? How do you find this angle? Simple. 180 minus 120, it will give you 60, which is the other angle. So this is how you find supplementary, missing angles of supplementary. Just keep in mind, whenever you hear the word supplementary means it should be 180 degrees. Okay. Now the other part of the angles is the other one of the angles is complementary. As you can see the picture, it's a 90-degree angle. It is a right angle, so which means it should equal 90 degrees. But why do we call them as complementary angles? Because it has been divided in two. So one part of the angle will be given, you will be asked to find the other part. So as you know, the whole complementary angle adds up to 90 degrees. So one part of the angle is 30, means other part of the angle is 90 minus 30, which will give you a 60. Once you find the angle you want to be sure, you can simply add both the angles and check whether you are getting 90 degrees or not. Okay, let's see an example. Find the missing angle. So, is this a complementary or a supplementary angle? Of course, it is a complementary angle because it is a right angle. So, as soon as you hear the word complementary, you need to remember that it's 90 degrees. Okay, so let's find it in an algebraic way, the proper way. How do we find out the missing angle? You know that this angle is 75, and when you add up both the angles, you should get 90 degrees. So 75 plus x should give you 90 degrees. All right, so how do we find x? X is going to be 90 minus 75. You will bring the 75 to the other side. So that's going to give you 90 minus 75, which is going to give you the angle x is 15. Let me go to the previous one. So the unknown angle here is going to be 15 degrees. You want to be sure, check by adding both the angles. 75 plus 15, is that going to give you 90? Yes, it is. So this is a complementary angle, and this is how you find the missing angle. The same rule goes even if you have to find the missing angle of supplementary. Now, supplementary means they add up to 180. Here they have given one of the angles for you. So one angle is 77, you need to find the remaining angle. So the rule remains the same, except the supplementary, because it's supplementary, it adds up to 180. So 77 plus y, so 77 plus y should give you 180. Y is equal to 180 minus 77, because we need to move the 77 to the other side. So when you subtract, you will get that y is equal to 103. So this is how you find missing angles of supplementary and complementary. Only these two words are important. Complementary means 90. Supplementary means 180 degree. If you remember these two words and the concerned angles, it's easier to find the missing angles. I hope this lesson is clear for you. So thank you for watching this video. Let's meet in another video and see further how do we